He was a digital celebrity who built an empire reviewing cartoons. To the internet, he was Mr. Anime, the harmless, awkward, eccentric next door who made skits in his backyard. To the Waller Police Department, he was a ticking bomb who had been broadcasting his descent into madness for 3 years. We watched him hold the murder weapon, we clicked like, and we didn't do a thing until the screaming started. On the surface, Trey Sessler was the quintessential early YouTube success story. In 2012, his channel, LensCap Productions, was thriving. He was a 22-year-old film buff living in Waller, Texas, a quiet town where doors were left unlocked and neighbors knew each other by name. His content was innocent. He reviewed Japanese animation, performed goofy comedy sketches, and collaborated with his loving family. His mother Rhonda was his biggest fan. His brother Mark was his frequent co-star. They weren't just his family, they were his cast. Viewers fell in love with the Sessler dynamic. It felt safe. It felt like home. But if you looked closely at the background of his videos, the scenery was changing. The anime posters were being replaced. The comedy props were swapped for real tactical gear. The eyes of the man talking to the camera were becoming vacant, dark, and hollow. The audience thought it was a character arc for the channel. They didn't realize they were watching a real-time suicide note written in 1080p. The shift was subtle at first, a review of a violent anime, a skit involving a prop gun. Then the props became real. He started filming himself shooting at targets in the backyard, the same backyard where he used to play act with his brother. He posted a video titled, "Mr. Anime is planning something." The comments section flooded with speculation. Was it a movie, a new series? No one guessed the truth. On Tuesday, March 20th, 2012, the upload schedule stopped. The silence coming from the Sessler home was heavy. It wasn't the quiet of a peaceful afternoon, it was the stifling, metallic silence of a crime scene. When authorities arrived, they didn't find a YouTuber working on his next script. They found a house of horrors. The walls were splattered with the final moments of the people who had supported him the most. In the garage, sitting eerily still, was a high-point carbine rifle, the very same one thousands of people had watched him unbox weeks earlier. This family's story was buried by the algorithm, overshadowed by the sensationalism of the killer's online fame. But Rhonda, Mark, and Taylor deserve to be known for more than just their final moments. Hit the like button to help us force the algorithm to shine a light on the victims, not just the monster. The police moved through the house, room by room. They found the bodies of his mother, his brother, and his father. But they found something else too, something that turned this from a triple homicide into a national security nightmare. Scrawled on the walls of the family home were messages, apologies, confessions, but among the chaotic scribblings, investigators found a plan. The killing of his family wasn't the grand finale, it wasn't the main event. According to the evidence sitting right there on his computer, Trey Sessler had packed his car with over 100 rounds of ammunition. He had a map, and the destination wasn't a police station or a hideout, it was the frantic, crowded hallways of Waller High School. The man who reviewed cartoons had just finished the rehearsal. Now he was heading for the premiere. The timeline of the afternoon was reconstructed through digital forensics and blood spatter analysis. It revealed a cold, calculated patience that contradicted the idea of a sudden psychotic break. Trey Sessler didn't snap, he waited. At 1 p.m., Rhonda Sessler was in the garage. She was likely doing laundry or checking on the family pets. Trey approached her from behind with the carbine rifle. He fired 4 shots. There was no argument, no struggle, just an execution. But the horror was only beginning. His older brother, Mark, was in his bedroom, likely with headphones on, oblivious to the shots fired just walls away. Trey walked down the hallway, the floorboards creaking under the weight of his gear, and entered Mark's room. He shot his brother once in the head and once in the chest. Then the house fell silent again. This is the part that haunts investigators the most. Trey didn't flee, he didn't panic. He sat in that house with the bodies of his mother and brother for hours, waiting for his father, Lawton, to come home from work. He paced the living room, he scribbled on the walls. He likely checked his YouTube channel stats. When Lawton pulled into the driveway that evening, he was walking into a slaughterhouse. As he entered the home, tired from a day of work, his own son gunned him down. With the family annihilated, Trey began the final phase of his plan. He loaded the weapons into his Ford Mustang, he packed the ammunition, and he drove towards Waller High School. Police later recovered the surveillance footage and digital records that painted a terrifying picture of what led to this moment. They found months of videos uploaded to the internet where Trey was test-firing the murder weapon. In one clip, he looks directly at the lens, laughing maniacally, bullet casings flying past his face. At the time, his subscribers commented LOL and great effects. Now, police were watching the same footage as evidence of premeditation. The signs weren't hidden, they were monetized. The law often struggles with cases like this. When does a character become a threat? When does content become a confession? Looking at the footage of him shooting in his backyard, knowing what he did next, do you believe the platforms should have intervened sooner? Tell me your verdict in the comments below. Trey arrived at Waller High School just before graduation. The parking lot was full. The auditorium was likely packed. He sat in his car, the engine idling, looking at the building. He had the rifle. He had the element of surprise. He had nothing left to lose. But then, the investigation took a turn that defied all profiling logic. Usually, mass shooters are stopped by force or suicide. Trey Sessler was stopped by boredom. According to his interrogation tapes, he sat in that parking lot, gripping the steering wheel, and felt nothing. The adrenaline didn't come. The cinematic climax he had visualized in his head felt flat in reality. He told detectives that it all just felt too real. The line between his digital fantasy and the physical world had finally blurred too much. So he put the car in reverse. He drove away. He went to a friend's house, and then, in a final act of bizarre normalcy, he simply waited for the police to come get him. He didn't go out in a blaze of glory. He surrendered with a whimper. When the detectives finally sat him down in the interrogation room, they expected a monster. They expected a raving lunatic. Instead, they got a calm, soft-spoken young man who was ready to explain exactly why he had to kill the people who loved him most. And his reasoning was more terrifying than any rage could ever be. In the interrogation room, the detectives leaned in, waiting for a motive that made sense. They expected money problems, a family feud, or a sudden mental snap. Instead, Trey Sessler gave them a reason so twisted it chilled the air in the room. He didn't kill his family because he hated them. He killed them because he loved them. He explained to the officers with a calm, steady voice that he knew what he was about to do at the high school. He knew he was going to become a mass murderer, a monster on the national news. He didn't want his mother to endure the heartbreak of seeing her son in handcuffs on TV. He didn't want his brother to carry the shame of the Sessler name. So, in a grotesque distortion of mercy, he decided to save them from the aftermath by removing them from the equation entirely. He slaughtered them to protect them from himself. This is the terrifying paradox of the narcissist. Trey Sessler viewed his family not as human beings with their own lives, but as supporting characters in his movie. When the script called for a tragedy, he wrote them out of the scene. He prioritized his desire to be infamous over their right to breathe, then reframed it as an act of compassion. He told detectives he had been studying the Columbine shooters and other serial killers, treating their atrocities like a syllabus he needed to master. He wanted to graduate from reviewing fiction to creating horror. The legal system, however, does not recognize twisted mercy as a defense. The cold premeditation, the map, the weapon preparation, the hours spent waiting for his father, stripped away any chance of an insanity plea holding up. The Mr. Anime persona wasn't a separate entity, it was a mask that slipped. Trey Sessler pleaded guilty to the murders of Rhonda, Mark, and Lawton Sessler. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom was the final stage he would ever stand on. There was no applause. There were no subscribers to defend him. The judge ensured that the only audience Trey would ever have again would be the four walls of a concrete cell. No comment section, no view counter, just silence. Today, the house in Waller stands as a silent monument to a family erased by the delusions of one man. But the most chilling artifact isn't the physical evidence, it's the digital footprint. Archives of his videos still float in the digital void of the internet. If you find them, you can still see Mark smiling in a skit. You can hear Rhonda laughing behind the camera, cheering her son on. You can see the ghosts of the victims helping their killer build the platform he would eventually use to destroy them. We are documenting the evil the world wants to ignore, dragging these stories out of the dark so we can learn the signs before it's too late. Subscribe to join the investigation and help us keep the victims' names alive. Trey Sessler spent his life obsessed with screens, desperate to be the main character in a gripping story. But in the end, he's just another sad man in a cage, and the only thing he successfully reviewed was his own destruction.